Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. We have an unboxing today, and it is a timely unboxing because it is a relatively new release. We have here Target for Tonight from Legion Wargames. This is a companion game to their previous game, Target for Today, which is kind of another reimagining of B-17 Queen of the Skies, which of course is a legendary game, except that from what I've seen, and I have looked through a buddy's copy of Target for Today, it looks like the definitive reimagining of that venerable game. So we have a quite heavy box. It's a 2-inch box. It looks a little tall. I don't have anything to compare it to off the top of my head at hand here. So game design and development is by Steve Dixon, and Bob Best. Technical consultant Joe Ostentowski. And graphics by Mark Mahaffey, Vincent Bourignon, and Randy Line. And production coordination by Randy Line. Number of players, 1. This is, of course, a solitaire game. Game complexity is medium-high on Legion's scale. I have a hunch I would consider it more medium, but the scale's pretty coarse, and these things are always off. And, of course, high suitable for solitaire. So let's see what we get. Quite heavy box, by the way. So this is the British end of what we saw in Target for Today, which is American bombers in Germany in the pretty much the same time period. These are British night bombers over Germany. So we have, let's set the box off to one side. We have a bag of bags, which comes with 4 dice, 2 10s and 2 6s. We have a quite thick Target for Tonight rules of play. So this is a 60-page book, but it's full color, glossy stock, heavier than magazine stock. It's quite nice. I like matte stock better, I think, but if it's got to be glossy, then I prefer it to be this thicker glossy. The print is quite large, so those of us with problematic eyesight, which now includes me, will be relieved to not have too much eye strain. So unless I'm mistaken, because B-17 was like this, and the Enemy Coast Ahead games from GMT are like this too, these solitaire games are often very procedural. So if you pretty much just set it up and just work through a game of it, you will learn the game. But quite handsome, staple bound, so not quite sitting flat as you can see, but who cares about that? You want it to lay open anyway, which it does pretty much. Okay, so that's nice glossy, nice handsome glossy rulebook. We have Errata, March 29th, 2020, which is about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago. Looks like we've got some issues that are addressed here. So here's one of the cool things with this and Target for Today is you actually get like a little booklet for each plane that you can fly. So you can fly Sterling 1, 3, and 4s, Halifax 2 and 5s, the Lancasters with the different types of engines, and the Wellington. And in these books, you're going to find like the area damage tables. So you got your hit tables in here, specific damage tables for the specific locations on that plane, which is pretty cool. Now these look really old school. I believe that to be intentional because they're kind of this blue, kind of generic printed thing that you might have seen in the military, for example. These are actually quite neat. None of them are super thick. These are probably 16 pages, something like that. About 16 pages. But with needed information inside both the front and back covers. So these are pretty neat. We have a huge book of game tables. Okay, so this is same glossy stock as the other book. This is a 36-page book. Okay, so there is a table of contents. I was like, whew, okay. Right on the front, too. So all the tables for the game are all in here. And again, with this type, general style of game, you're probably going to have a lot of tables. This cries out, by the way, for a fancy and elaborate playthrough video series. Stuka Joe, since he's better at that than anybody else. So that's neat. We have another book called The Gazetteer with Moon Phases. So this is a 16-page book. Okay. Target cities, which are in various different zones. Here's more zones. More target cities, actually, not more zones. Okay. And presumably there's an explanation of what this notation means on the front here. So this goes all the way back. Most of this book is, in fact, this exact thing. So if you want to bomb Stettin, for example, Zone 2 would be W. All right, so you have to actually look at the table. The letter is a code identifying whether the zone is over water or land in that zone. Water, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, England, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, or Switzerland, which implies that you can bomb all those places, or at least fly over Swiss airspace. Although there were some incidents during the war involving Swiss airspace. So we've got some optional rule stuff down here, which looks like it's... so one of the things that made me order this one instead of Target for today was the dealer that I bought it from had it in stock, which meant it shipped like the next day as opposed to waiting a couple weeks for him to get it. And it covers the Dam Buster raid. Now, it won't cover the Dam Buster raid in the same depth as Enemy Coast Ahead, the Dam Buster raid, I'm sure. But nevertheless, it's kind of cool, and I always like to see, for certain topics that I'm specifically interested in, I like to have more than one treatment. So we have these boards here. There's one for each plane. So here's the one for the Halifax, for example, where you would put your crew members in the different places on the map. And your enhancements. I think there's some kind of campaign mode where you can add enhancements to your plane. And of course, each one of these is going to be slightly different. We'll see that the Lancaster, for example, is in fact slightly different. So, and these aren't mounted. They're on a very heavy semi-gloss, say satin finish stock. I'd want to put this under plexi though, to be honest. Okay. We have counters. So what that means in this case is we have these counters. These look to be about 1.25 inches to me. These are for the German night fighters that will be shooting your plane up. You've got things for the moon phase, things for searchlights, things to show your altitude, and some general markers here. And then we have an additional sheet of markers. These look like 5/8 counters to mark crew expertise, another kind of standard element in these types of games. And I'm not sure what these are for. These may represent other bombers in your formation, because what is suggested by the color scheme is that these are British bombers and these are American bombers. That might be nonsense. I don't know. So you have fire extinguisher counters, for example. That's pretty cool. You can get light wounds or serious wounds or killed. That would be your crew when your plane gets shot up. We've got player aids. There's going to be a lot of these, so buckle up. We have a single-sided but double panel turn sequence. I always like to see the sequence of play on a player aid, and it's even nicer if it's detailed like this. I would definitely, looking at this, I would definitely play this under plexi, even though, and we'll get to why you would think you might not need it in a minute. Okay, so we have these campaign cards. Okay, are there more of these? So we have campaign 10 and 12 and 9 and 11, and these are on sort of slightly undersized, same heavy cardstock though. So these are your target assignments. They'll tell you what you're bombing, and there are some locations in Belgium here too. We have here, okay, emission composite record. and squadron game assignment sheets. These are single-sided as well. You're obviously intended, it even says you're going to photocopy these, which is fine. We have a zone worksheet, which you also want to photocopy for your own use. And this does something, presumably in the mission planning stage or something like that. We have, single-sided Lancaster mission log sheets. We also have one for the Sterling, the Halifax, and the Wellington. Okay, so here's campaigns 1 and 2. Okay, so that's why these are on huge charts. These are later in the war. These are in 42. So you only have these limited target roster for campaigns 1 and 2. And then here's campaign 3, broadening the range of cities that are getting bombed. Campaign 4, where it gets narrow again. It looks like that's winter of 42. We have here campaign 5 and 6. And we have here campaign 7 and 8. So, just looking at the dates, looks like campaign 10, 5 to 6 June 1944. Okay. So, which actually makes somewhat of sense because the Allies did intentionally broaden their bombing campaign right before D-Day so that the Germans would hopefully not figure out where they were going to land, because they knew they were going to land. Now, here's your cards that go on the battle board, for one for each plane. And this is a kind of punch-out stock type. It's already falling out. That's okay. I don't buy games to keep them unpunched. So this is not like the kind of cards you punch out. Very old school, by the way. But it's heavier stock than one normally gets with those. It's actually fairly heavy. So, anything on the backs? No, these are single-sided. I guess since some of them are coming out, they're all coming out. All right, and then let's set everything aside here because we have the mounted board that has to come out. As I would expect to see, this thing is, A, the production values are really nice, and B, it's loaded with material, which has been the case with Legion stuff that I've seen. Okay, so when you're on the battle board, I'm going to call this the battle board. The game might call it something else. You put your plane in here, and then enemy night fighters will approach from different directions. That's the whole components of the game, though. A lot of stuff in here. There's no cards or anything other than these things, which I'll have to baggy up. But it is otherwise. We've got a blank sheet, as would be traditional with multi-man publishing. So we got like this big stack of stuff that's mostly rule books, and this big stack of stuff that's counters. And nevertheless, it does look like you'll have room to put everything back in the box with the counters in a tray, which is nice. So target for tonight, pretty new release from Legion Wargames. Don't own. This is my first owned Legion Wargame, actually, and like I said, I've looked through other products that they have, and I've been pretty impressed with their production quality overall. So target for tonight. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave me any questions or comments in the questions and comments section below. Please check out the Patreon, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Patreon's linked in the video description. Thanks for watching. Happy wargaming.